So this is going to be a fairly quick run-through of the Learning Target 4.6 test questions. The assumption is by now you know how to graph a line. If not, looking at these lines, you need to go back to Learning Target 3.3 and go through those notes. So I look at the first line. It's going to cross the y-axis at -4. So I'm going to put a point. It has a slope of 3, which I can turn into a fraction by putting it over 1. It's a positive 3 over a positive 1. Now, this is going to be a dashed line because the line itself is where y equals 3x minus 4, and there is no equals in this line, in this inequality. So I need to put arrows at both ends of my line. Now, this needs to be a dashed line, but if you remember, I can't actually draw a dashed line directly using this. You should draw it dashed to begin with. I can't. So I have to put this in, and then I have to go back and make it dashed. Now the second line crosses the y-axis at positive 1. It has a slope of -2, which I can turn into a fraction by putting it over 1, so down 2 to the right 1. This is a solid line, again, because the line is where y equals that, and equals is part of the inequality. So I have a nice solid line. Now I do need to change that a little bit. These lines should go from one edge of the graph to the other, so I need to extend this line out. Now from my first inequality, y is less than. Less than, I'm going to shade below the red line. So less than, I would want to shade down. The second one, y is also less than, so from the blue line I would also want to shade below that line. And what I end up finding is that the region that has the arrows pointing in from both inequalities is this region down here. So this is the region, and I need to shade it in as fully as I can without making that line look solid over there. That's my region to shade. Now, the next one, y is less than or equal to 3/4 x minus 1, crosses the y-axis. Oops, I better change that because you can't see that. Crosses the y-axis at -1. A slope of positive 3/4 takes me up 3 and to the right 4. Now I need to put my scale numbers in for that. Solid line because of the equals. Again, one edge of the graph to the other edge of the graph. I have to move this around a little bit, but you don't. If you had your ruler in the right place, you're good. So be careful where you put your ruler. The second one crosses the y-axis at positive 2. A slope of -3. I'm going to go down 3 and to the right 1. Also a solid line because the line is where equals is true, and there is an equals there. So from one edge of the graph to the other, again, I'm going to have to do a little bit of fiddling here to get this line in the right place, which you don't have to do when you're using a ruler. Now for this inequality, this one in turn the blue is less than, so I want to shade below this line for less than. The red one in this case, though, is, oops, and I just said less than for the blue one, and it's greater than. Let me undo those. Greater than. Again, a less than looks like a capital L sort of on its side, so the greater than is the other one. So for the blue one, I actually want to shade above the blue one. But this one is a less than, so I want to shade below this one. And in this case, the region that is true for both of those is out here. So I'm going to shade in that whole region. And then I'm done with my graph. Now the last one crosses the y-axis at positive 2 for the first inequality. So positive 2. It has a slope of -1, which I can turn into a fraction by putting it over 1. So I'm going to go in this direction. It is a dashed line because the line is, again, where equals is true, and equals is not true on this one. There is no equals in that inequality. So that's that line. Now the second one crosses the y-axis at -3. Notice I am putting my scale numbers in for these. A slope of +3/5 is going to take me up 3 and to the right 5, putting my scale numbers in again. This is also going to be a dashed line. I'm going to go back and make both of these dashed in just a minute. I figured it'd be easier almost to do these both at once. So they're both dashed lines because neither one of them has an equals as part of the inequality. So now that I've got those in, let me go and make them dashed. Again, you should make them solid from the start. I just can't do that in this program. Now, from the first inequality, it's less than, so I want to shade below. The second inequality is greater than, so I want to shade above. So the region that is true for both of those, that's the solutions to the system, is this region here. Now some people shade it only up to the axis. Remember, you need to shade the full region between the two lines that you just graphed. So don't stop at the y-axis, shade all of this. And that is learning target 4.6.